Ilvermorny, American School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, Part 2. First established as a magical homeschool in the early 1600s, Ilvermorny was named for the cottage where its co-founder, an Irish witch named Isolde Serre, spent her early childhood in County Kerry. Although her childhood was somewhat traumatic, since her pure-blood-obsessed aunt Gormlaith Gaunt, yes, that Gormlaith Gaunt, the descendant of Salazar Slytherin who owned his wand, kidnapped her after murdering her pro-Muggle mother and father. Her early years with her parents, at least, were idyllic. That is, idyllic enough that she chose to remember her parents and be good like they were. Indeed, she found ways of remembering them, such as naming the school Ilvermorny, or calling her Puckwudgie companion after her father. And of course, Ilvermorny's symbol, the Gordian knot, was the third. Isolde wove the knot, based on an old brooch of her mother's, into Ilvermorny's sorting ceremony and the clasp that fastens students' robes. As I said, Ilvermorny started as nothing more than a little cottage. Inspired by Hogwarts, they started to teach their adopted sons Webster and Chadwick, and then they started to attract more and more magical children. They also created the wands that the children used. And by they, I mean her and her no-match husband, James Stewart. Gradually, the building had to grow in size as the school grew in reputation. Over time, the school grew into a castle, with teachers and staff and dormitories all hidden at the top of Mount Greylock by swirling mists and multiple enchantments. And as I said, Isolde's husband James was instrumental in Ilvermorny's setup. He designed the house, helped make the cottage a home, and carved the wands used by his adopted sons and the other students taught by Isolde, and yet he was a no-mage. All of this was exceptionally unusual given Isolde's background. Being descended from Hogwarts co-founder Salazar Slytherin, some of her family was so anti-Muggle that they were prepared to commit terrible crimes to keep their wizarding blood pure, such as her aunt murdering her parents for being pro-Muggle. And upon hearing that Isolde had married a Muggle, Gormlaith journeyed to America intent on killing them too. So, although sharing her family's talent for Parseltongue and having stolen her aunt's wand, Slytherin's own wand, she chose a different path. Her ability to speak to snakes allowed her to converse with the horned serpent that lived near the cottage also, and the horned serpent enabled the creation of her son's wands, and those wands helped save their lives when Gormlaith arrived in Mount Greylock. When all was said and done, Ilvermorny actually had 4 founders: Isolde, James, and their first students and adopted sons, Webster and Chadwick. Each named a house after their favorite magical creature. Horned Serpent was Isolde's, Wampus was Webster's, Thunderbird was Chadwick, and the Puckwudgie was James's. They created a rather epic sorting ceremony, which I mentioned in the previous video. However, unlike Hogwarts, the students don't get their wands until their first day of school. After finding out their house, Ilvermorny's first years are shown into the hall where they acquire their wands. While Hogwarts' first years might purchase them before they start school, in America the situation's different because of the country's complex history. Until 1965, Rappaport's law stated that no child was allowed to own a wand until they came to school. That has since been repealed, but the tradition remains that the first wave of a wand happens in the school hall. Check out Part 3 for even more information on Ilvermorny.